Established in 1900, surviving 2 world wars and 1 cereal cafe, 3 generations have passed on the ownership.
Time, 1 set breakfast!
Born upstairs, inside these very walls. Real Cockneys, a word often used but not often understood. Humour, charm, and of course, honesty. The food, well, it speaks for itself. Made with love and designed to fill. Join us in Ep.8 as we go down the Caff.
Gorgeous Gizzy, we know you are. You've been coming in here for a long time. Tell these people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Gizzi Erskine. I'm a chef, food writer, one of the original slashers, which means that I also DJ and write and do loads of stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, we didn't, because we know you're fancy.
Oh, fuck
Gizzy, lovely to have you in.
Thank you, Gizzy.
We forgot she's double
Your
fancy.
Highness,
Your Royal Highness.
Thank you,
Gizzy,
Gizzy.
I think I'm going to have a bit of trouble during this interview. Because you're stunning, but like I think I'm going to be not looking at your face during the...
No, she's talking about Gizzy, actually.
Look at Gizzy's face, look at Gizzy's face. No, but thank you for coming down, Gizzy. We really appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure. I love it. I miss it. I mean, I lived literally across the road for like 8 years or something, and then now I'm in bloody Walthamstow.
So you're in the village?
Yeah, I'm in the village now.
I'm in the village.
It's really swanky. It's very weird.
It ain't swanky.
Where we are.
Do you know what it is? I took the girl. I've got friends up there, and we went to the town hall because they've got them fountains at the town hall, ain't they?
Yeah.
And we took our little girls up there, and Clara kept going, Dad, come to the toilet, come to the toilet. And we went down to the toilet in town hall, and she was like, Dad, the toilet's so fancy down there. And they were like Art Deco toilets in there, like,
even my mum
it's all like gold handles and that. It looks like not
Did
real
you nick
gold.
anything?
No, it couldn't come off.
It's
I couldn't
losing
get
its
it
touch. Losing its touch. But you are gorgeous, and you are super fancy compared to us at least.
But see, No,
but you are. It's lovely. I think it's lovely. It's a lovely trait. But where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Scotland. My family is Scottish. So I was born in it's Roehampton Hospital, which is in Wandsworth, and then I was two weeks in London. Then we moved up to Dumfries, which is like the south of Scotland. It's on the borders. So then I was there and for like till I was about 4 or 5, and then came to London and then lived in like for the first like 2 years of living in London, we were in a really posh part, which I just, it's so different to my actual life. But we lived in Belgravia. Right. And then...
Fancy.
Just off Sloane Square.
Oh, double fancy.
That was a gardener. She used to do the gardening.
He was a pool boy. No, and then my family lost everything, basically. My mum and dad broke up, and I ended up growing up just between Paddington and Marble Arch. Just off the Edgware Road, basically.
Do you remember that time in your life, kids? It's like stuck with you.
But like, it's weird. Like I do remember it because obviously and then my father died when I was very young, so I remember it in a very sweet and innocent, like 3 rose-tinted glasses way. I don't really have a lot of like affirmative memories, but yeah, from when we moved into the West, because I grew up in the West End, like W1, like no one lives there.
Yeah, of course.
That's not a community area. That was like my mum's friend who was helping us because we were in a real shit situation, put us in one of the, because I don't know if you remember back in those days, all of the roads that were off between Baker Street and Edgware Road were all brothels or like little...
No, I don't know what you're talking about, Gizzy.
I used to pick you up from there, didn't
I'm sure.
Shut up, please.
But yeah, so they were all empty, and the person who ran the sort of like the area was like, look, we can pop you in one of these places, and gave her a 20-year lease. And then Madonna moved into the neighbourhood, you know.
Oh, wow.
And it was a really nice area, but it was great. Like in the end, like just at the back of, just off Park Lane, there's like a tiny little church.
All these
England
names
school.
you're coming out of, I only know them off the Monopoly. I've never fucking been there, innit?
I didn't know they was real.
I didn't know they were
We didn't
real.
know they were real.
They were pretend.
They thought you moved a little train there.
This is the thing, I sort of like pretend in my head that I'm not posh, but I am. I'm completely posh. I keep forgetting it. But there was the tiny little Church of England state school, and that's where we ended up going. And then I went to like proper inner city London. I went to Greycoats.
Oh, I know a few of the kids from when they were primary school.
That's where you wanted to send Christina when it Greycoats, Rosa.
Yeah.
Nah,
she was too rough. She knew
No,
us.
but it's right. It was absolutely fair. That place was like
was it a rough
terrifying.
school? Was
Yeah,
it
back
a
in
private school or nothing?
No, it's not private.
No,
It's like-
Greycoats is not private.
Yeah.
And did you make some good friends there? or-
Well, I guess no. I met my best friend who, same as me. Like,
Are you
we were
still
both
friends now?
best friends still.
Right.
We sort of ended up at the school. She'd been expelled from a couple of schools, and I'd had a load of trouble. So we kind of like gravitated towards each other. But yeah, she went there, and I've got a couple of friends still from there, but my sister's really good mates with all of her school friends. I think I hang out with one person.
Yeah.
And did you always have that little naughty side to you?
I'm a middle child.
That's like me. We
Yeah,
bloody blame for everything.
Yeah, but do we
Both
do
of
it?
you,
Do
both
we
middle
go? No,
child.
we're both like so
I
the
know.
You
same.
know what? Even like my little Clara, the oldest girl, she's like very sensible, and Clara, I can just see now. She's the second. She's not a
Bit
middle
messed
child.
up.
She's
Like
the
you.
second child. Yeah, and I can just see who she hangs about with, and I'm like, oh no, I can see
Yeah,
the
tell her
kids.
what happened at the party. Just don't say no names.
Party, what
At the
happened?
birthday
Well,
party,
they were
the
going
kids giving it
wild.
all like
the
that.
girls, I had 16, 11-year-old girls in there the
Yeah.
other night for a karaoke, and some of them come in and they were like this. They were like, woo! And I was like, she's not hanging about with her. She's not going to be hanging about with her. I was like,
Like, get their number right now.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Gizzy, you were saying you and your mates were naughty. Were you naughty enough? Did you get expelled? I think
I never
you
got
told me.
expelled, but I had a lot to prove because I was a posh girl at the
Yeah.
state school, so I ended up learning how to use my fists quite a lot.
Good girl.
But yeah, no, it turns out that I did, and I really had to learn how to defend myself, and my little sister as well. So I was very protective of her.
So you've got three girls in
Three
your
girls,
family.
yeah. Big sister who's like 4 years difference. What's
Yeah.
your difference? Is like
I'm 4 years older than him.
Yeah.
But we've got two girls and the youngest who's a boy in an Italian
So
family.
how many of you?
Three of us.
Right, okay.
But two sisters and a baby brother. So
Yeah.
he goes by the name
Aw,
of King
baby
Farouk or
brother.
Palle d'Oro.
Yeah.
Even now my mum thinks he does nothing wrong.
yeah, like.
And when she
sun
talks,
shines
when
out
she
the door.
talks about him on the phone, and she's talking about him and uses his voice, say Nev said I'm going to the shops.
Yeah.
She'll go, Nev said I'm going to the shops. She puts this stupid baby voice on for you, doesn't she?
'cause it's like,
It's
yeah.
not I used to beat
going
him
to
up.
like the
I used to beat
gates
him
of
up.
heaven and bringing her something
Yeah.
back, whereas for you, you just got
was you known as like the posh girl at school?
Not really. And to begin with, probably, but yeah, by the end of it, I'd like. So what's really interesting is my big sister. She has completely different accent to like my little sister. My little sister sort of sounds more like she's from Essex, right? Whereas I'm somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And my big sister she was probably educated, so she's. Although actually, because of the way that we've been brought up, we've been brought up in a very sort of left wing way, not left wing, just a very liberal way, should I say? And so we've all like it's never really been an emphasis on.
Especially when you grow up in London.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like,
you're so lovely. I know how you are. Like you're a real, just one of the girls. Like you're really
People
lovely.
person.
People person. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. Like you meet with everyone. You mix with everyone.
I do, and
you can go in a party and you'd be friends.
It's interesting because it's like I don't see myself as that person that has, like you look at my Wikipedia, then you see that I'm entitled. I wrote a piece about it in because I write for the iPaper, where it was like I don't like if you could actually refer to it as like I don't identify as aristocracy. I don't. We put it. It's on my passport. That's literally it. I've
You've
never
got
used
aristocracy
it.
written on your passport.
Well, I've got my title.
Yeah, she's a lady or something.
my God,
Because
you're
your dad-
another
you got
character.
No, 'cause
God,
was
I didn't
your
know
dad was a baronet or something. A baron.
A lord.
A lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lord. That's like
so
serious
We
stuff.
don't use
No, but
it.
what title do you then get?
I'm an honourable.
Why don't you use it?
You know, I might do.
Gizzy, if I was walking about, I'd be like, "Excuse me, honourable coming through."
Yeah.
Get out of the
So
way.
if you imagine that you've been brought up with your full name as Griselda,
Right.
and then like my full name is the Honourable Griselda Maxwell Erskine of Rerick, right?
Oh,
you want us to
I
use
don't
that
want to
in
be
the interview?
Griselda, let alone the rest of that. So, it's like I've had to like re-identify myself.
Honourable
But
Gizzi
actually, when I get older,
Erskine.
I've decided when
Sensible.
I hit 50, I think I might become the Honourable Griselda.
Yeah, fuck it.
I think I might do
100%.
it.
That's in your blood. You know what I mean? That
I
is
know,
your-
but it doesn't feel like it. Like, I've not had. I mean, for a very limited time, I had those I mean, it wasn't even a massive luxury because my father didn't identify like that in
Yeah,
himself.
but why should you? That's your name. That's who you are. Why do we always have to identify as someone? It's just you, innit? That's it.
Yeah,
why do you have to fit in a box?
Because, you know, when you say, exactly as you've just made my example of it, it sounds really swanky and
we think it's great.
It makes
Judge
people
her.
think, people assume a position.
Because we have a joke with you, like we love that you're a little bit fancy. We think that's really nice. No, we do, and with people but it must be sometimes awkward going. People must just straight away have got preconception.
They assume that I've been born into money. We've not, you know. I have earned every single bloody thing.
Even if you had been, so what?
I know,
I don't know why
haven't.
people have a problem with stuff like that.
People
are jealous.
And
people
people
jealous.
assume it's fucking annoying. Because you just want to. Yeah, I've really grafted. I've worked since I was 15, and I've slogged my guts out. And you know, I moved out of home. Like, I was, you know, I left school at 15, so I've left with no like qualifications. So I had to like, you know, do all of that.
Well, you lived in a brothel. Did you get any from there? Did you get any brothel qualifications?
Sadly not. That was another big regret.
Do you think that helped you get where you are today, getting kicked out of school at 15? It made you
100%. I'd never, because we were kind of joking about this before, but I was diagnosed as ADHD really young, like considering that I was a woman. And, you know, I'm 45 now. So my first diagnosis was 17. No, probably now. I've been off my meds for 3 years. So I'm going to say almost 20 years ago, I got diagnosed with ADHD. So conventional education was never going to work for me. The thing was, I'm like a lot of sort of people who are ADHD misbehave at school, but I was just completely distant. I was not in the room at all, but I could hear everything that was going on, and I listened, and I got all the stuff I was meant to learn. I just didn't bother doing anything with it in that process, and found, you know, rebellion was far more exciting. Taking drugs with boys was far more exciting than doing anything, you know. So all the stimuli and like the dopamine hits I learned very young. There was one story where I came in here and actually I'd been up all night and we were starving. Me and Vic had come over. Do you remember my little friend who used to live with me? And there was a queue, we couldn't get in. So I was like, please, and you were like, no. So I went to
Sorry, Giz.
That's all right.
Hand over the drugs, you can come in.
I went to the McDonald's there, and I got papped eating McDonald's because of you.
Oh, you bastard! I wasn't let you in, Giz.
Yeah, I was
chowing down.
We're talking about McDonald's and food, like Gizzi Erskine's mainly, like, you know, massive. That's what you are. You like food. What was it like at home? So I know you said sadly you lost your dad. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that when you were a kid. And was your mum a big cook? Was she a big influence?
An amazing cook, really? And obsessed with food, and kind of that's why I started cooking. I'm sure you guys will relate to that.
We're grown up around it, Was your mum, just interrupting quickly, are your parents both English? Because you look like Italian, Spanish,
weird,
Mediterranean.
No, they're both, my parents are like pretty much Scottish.
Okay.
But I think that they had the Spanish Armada.
Yeah,
in
okay.
Scotland.
There was someone fiddling around somewhere, one of them brothels up there.
Yeah. But my mum's also, her dad's Polish. So I think that there's like the chiseledness is the part.
But I was meaning about like the food and the food culture.
The food culture was, my mum she went to Paris when she was in her late teens. And so she learned to cook in Paris, and she loved food. And you know, I don't know, we just all my memories were, because she was a single, you know, family with three daughters. You know, really she used to use us. We're like little slave labour. She would like have us up against the sink, you know, like cooking everything with her, or like. You know, we'd all on a Saturday have one would have a bottle of Pledge, one would have the window lean, and you know, be running around cleaning everything. So we would help
each other out.
Yeah, so we were basically taught very young how to do domestic things.
But you obviously loved it and you went into it. Did your sisters like it, or was it just
Not
you?
Like
you just had a something for it?
Me and my mum have a really strong bond over it. Then she moved to Thailand, and when I was young as well. So when I was 15, so we used to speak every day, and she'd be teaching me how to do, you know, whatever she teaching me how to make bolognese, or teaching me how to do this dish that she used to make, this chicken dish. So she took me through it, and I'd feed my sister, and then before long I was getting. Like my sister would be like, my God, you're amazing.
You just done it. Some people have just got a gift.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's even that. I think it was just like an ego thing, like miniature narcissist, where somebody's telling you you're great all the time for doing this gesture. And I was like, fuck, this is cool.
But you were good at it, obviously.
I am good at it.
Yeah, and then I think was it the Peru Leaf School you went to?
I went to Leaf.
So how did that come about?
So I used to work in a body piercing studio when I was probably from 15 till I was about 23.
Did you pierce everything?
Everything.
Everything?
Everything.
What is the maddest thing you've put in somebody?
Like the worst thing you can think. I did.
Matt's looking a bit sheepish over there, Matt. She had her old piercing out on you, was she?
But we, I mean, I was really interested. I mean,
Where and what?
Everywhere. Willies, boobs, fannies, the works.
Not the middle bit.
What middle bit?
Like not inside.
clitoris.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
What did you put in there?
Rings.
Obviously.
What do you think? Like sausages?
Obviously.
She
got a few sausages in her one, don't worry about her.
I won't even think about that's made me feel uncomfortable.
I mean, one of the worst things that happened was actually not at my fault. Somebody had come in from a piercing studio that they'd had an ampelang piercing, which is basically right through the top of the dick. And
they
I did
call
not
that a
think
King
I
William
would
or
say
say Prince Albert.
Prince
No,
Albert.
that's called an ampelang. Prince Albert goes down your urethra.
Oh, no, I don't even need to know. That's like,
But they come in and they'd had it really badly done, and the balls were like digging in. So I undid the ball, and it just literally covered like a Freddie Krueger movie where everything was
I
covered
really
in
don't
blood.
like blood. I'm
You
just
know, like-
it's making me feel
Right, let's
ill.
move on to next.
Oh my
You
God.
finished working in there and you went to Prue Lee.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to cook. Like I did.
about that.
Yeah, that's where we're
move on
at.
to the
Back
next
at the-
one.
Actually, I on the weekends I was doing little stages around in some restaurants. So I worked at E&O. I just worked in loads of little places. The Eagle. Just did some
In the kitchen.
Yeah, in the kitchen. And then decided, a very good friend of mine was a big restaurateur, a family friend was a big restaurateur, and they said, look, go and do these little stagiaires. If you enjoy it, then just put yourself into either Westminster Catering School or Leith's. And I was just like, do you know what? I started, I think I was about 22 at this stage, and I was just like, I just want to get it done. So I kind of begged, borrowed and stole to get my way through that in a year rather than doing
you put
Westminster
yourself
for
through
3
it?
years. Yeah.
So this was your school time now, not the when you were young.
exactly.
This was you going back to school and learning everything.
And then
sort of
feeling
thing.
like I had a lot to prove as well. And
Did you
so
meet Prue Leaf?
yeah, but she's actually weirdly I've met her post that since I've been in media, but she wasn't there. She'd already sold the school at that stage. But but I basically went through that school that school is full of really rich people, very privileged people, and everyone's either there because their parents have put them through it, or they've decided to retrain and they're maybe like in their 30s and they've earned some money, or 30s plus, you know, it's their second career. And I was like, literally had no money. I lived alone in Towbridge and basically what was
little 18-bedroom flat.
18 mansion house.
I lived in the Tower of London. But no, I lived in a little like basically squatting for like 4 years. I wasn't. It was my friend's house, but it was pretty fucking horrible. And so so I pushed myself through that, and I came top of the school, and I won a few prizes, and suddenly the whole eyes of like not just, you know, there's like a whole load of sort of, what's the word? I mean, when you finish catering school, there are a lot of eyes on you. People are interested, you know, chefs want you, but also media wanted me, which was weird. And I won an intern placement to go and write for BBC Good Food magazine.
Right.
So that's kind of where, back then, that's where I ended up. But I also, while I was there, I was working in a restaurant in town, and me and my friends set up a sort of events company that then eventually became a thing where there was a very famous artist who had a place on Brick Lane, and they were like, look, come in and do some events. So they were like, we don't want your classic, you know, art gallery, like a hot glass of wine and some mince pies. Like, you can do what you want. They had this gallery, and we just put a long table down there, and we did a 3-course meal, and people paid if they wanted to, and it was just all about tablescapes, and we actually wanted to make like the food the same calibre as the sort of visual side of it. And so I guess it was like the beginning of the sort of pop-up scene.
Yeah, had anyone ever done that before?
Do you know what's interesting? For dinner, I went out with the guy who runs Bistro Tech the other day, and he was the first person. I'd actually been to one of his events before. He had inspired me. But then it was, so he started it with a thing called the Reindeer, where he took over, you know, on Brick Lane, the car park, the Truman Brewery, basically. And so he was the first person, and then it was Nuno Mendes. Do you know Nuno?
Yeah.
So Nuno did the Loft project, and then Carl Clark was doing events all over the place. And so there was just this mini scene about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we suddenly realised, oh fuck, you can really capitalise on this. Suddenly advertisers were interested. So I never made any money from a pop-up, and I did some pop-ups in some phenomenal spaces. I actually, from like suddenly getting like media attention, and that's kind of how I broke through really. Suddenly there was like money on the table from brands.
And where would you love to do a pop-up most of all?
Oh my God, do you know what? There's this Caff in East London.
What's it called, Gizzy?
But you know, talking about our little place, how did you end up in East London? How did you find our little Caff?
So when I was at catering school, just before I went, I had to leave. I was living I can't remember why I had to leave, but I ended up moving to Tower Bridge and was there, and I just sort of like got to know East London from there. And then as soon as I could afford to move out of where I was, I moved to Wapping first, and then up to Clapton. So lived in Clapton for ages, and then moved here probably, I'm gonna say about 10 years ago, for 4 or 5 years. No, yeah, and then moved to Dalston.
What's better, East or West?
East. I hate West London. I feel like it's... I don't hate it. Like maybe on one hand, I dream about living in West London all the time. Like, do you have that? Do you dream about?
Yeah.
No, but like somewhere from your past that you always dream about. Like I always
dream back around my mum's now.
Yeah,
like I'm at home with all these kids and whatever and cooking and washing. Back around my mum's.
Does it hold a special place? Do you think you would ever go back there, West London?
I mean, if I made, I don't know. I think even if I made all the money in the world, I'd probably move to, I don't know where I'd move, probably back here.
Would you like it back here?
Yeah, I loved it.
But there's so much for restaurants and stuff like that around here. There is so much going on.
But you still have culture here, which is really interesting. Like I like being in a space. That's the one thing that, I mean, I like the area I live in, Walthamstow, but I miss being able to walk out my front door and have life, and I mean like diverse life, like interesting people, like everything from multiculturalism to like creativity is just on your doorstep,
and everyone gets on with it, and no one really bothers one another.
Totally.
So everyone just gets better. You know,
although it has changed, we can all see how much it's changed, and it's
some
not
for the
as
better and some for
authentic
worse.
as it once was.
Yeah.
But I do love walking out of my front door and I'm in a village. It's so weird. I'm in
a village.
Yeah, village. And I'm in the village. Like,
it's bit Gizzy. Going back to like when you were saying like cooking with your mum and stuff like that, and you said your sister was the one that noticed that you were good at, you know, what were you cooking? What were you making from?
I was cooking because we spent a lot of time in Thailand, so I was cooking a lot of Thai food. That's where I learned how to cook. Yeah. But also, like I said, my mum was cooking. You know, she taught us how to cook the proper French way, for example. So we'd make like a...
Because she'd studied in France.
Well, exactly. Well, she hadn't studied. She was married to a guy, so she went out and learned how to cook herself. But, you know, beef bourguignon and things like that were like...
Classics. Sort
of
thing.
real
She even says it nicely, didn't she?
Yeah,
say it again, say it again.
Ossobuco is like one of my favourite things to
cook.
And I
love eating a nice ossobuco.
My mum does an amazing ossobuco.
I bet she bloody does.
Let's have an ossobuco supper
That's what we should
night.
do, a pop-up, an
ossobuco supper. Yeah, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You're cooking though, Giz.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're cooking. We just look fancy out the front, serving it like that.
I can run around in the kitchen for you. You can just tell me what to do.
As long as we can maybe put on beehives on both of you.
Yeah, I love a beehive.
Like an Amy Winehouse, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I always had.
All right, we'll have to stick them. That's what we're doing. We're talking about food. We're going to feed you now.
I know.
I'm so excited. Nice lasagna.
I know. I always have two things when I come here. It depends. If it's like before 2, I'll have sausage, egg, and chips and beans, and that's actually my favourite thing.
Well, that's what we're going to do. A little plate of that and a little lasagna.
No, but then after
and some chicken
escalope.
Oh,
escalope.
Yeah, we'll do everything.
But I love your lasagna, and I love lasagna and chips. And isn't there something so like English about like the collaboration of having the chips with the vinegar with the lasagna?
Do you know what? I had an Italian girl in here one day, and she had lasagna, and I was chatting to her, and I give her some chips just like that. And she went,
first they turned their nose up.
Yeah, and she was like, no, and I was like, no, you got to dip it in.
And
she was like, no, and I was like, no, you have to dip it. She was like, and she wouldn't have it, and she did not. She ate the lasagna, and then she ate her chips after.
Yeah.
But most of them come in.
They try, and then they'll order it again. They'll order it again. Yeah.
Service!
Right, Gizzy. One of your favourites. Got a real mash-up here of all your little favourites.
This is like...
sausage, egg, chips and beans.
Cotoletta.
A nice little cotoletta. With rosmarino, limone.
Yum.
A little bit of lasagna because we've shared the rest with Matt.
Yeah, fantastic.
Lovely.
Wow.
A little bit of Parmigiano?
Yes, please. It's about time I got a free dinner from you.
There you go. Of
Yeah,
course
you can actually.
You got
That's
free
the only
dinner
reason
forever
I'm
now.
here.
You never forgiven me for not letting you in.
One of the dishes my mum used to make for us, which I've written about it in all of my cookbooks really, and we used to have it on Christmas Eve as Milanese. But we used to have it with like pomodoro, spaghetti pomodoro. Is that quite normal?
No, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's kind of an Englishy thing, but we sell it loads
We'd
in
always
here.
have that,
Yeah.
we'd always have that. I love that. It's one of my
In
favourite
Italy,
dishes.
you probably have a little spaghettino al pomodoro first as a primo piatto, and then have some
Right,
of that
and then
maybe with
have
some.
it.
But here everyone puts everything
In
together.
Italy, it's mainly veal.
Yeah.
But we've done it chickens.
Chicken,
Like
I was
most people,
gonna say.
a lot of people over here wouldn't have the veal.
I'm
but
pro veal. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
right
oh,
about it the
veal's
whole
lovely.
time.
When
It's
we go to
important
Italy,
to
a
eat
veal
veal.
chop.
Veal chop.
Yeah.
veal chop with some
Yeah.
lemon and
With a fat
rosemary
bit
and
on it.
garlic.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Bit of sage. It's
Yeah.
Sage, yeah.
but it's really important we eat veal. If we drink milk, if we don't eat veal, then you're like disposing of half of that whole industry.
Yeah.
It's just so wasteful.
Didn't think about
so
that.
it's really, really
Well, and
critical
the way they do it now, they're a lot.
Can I
they're
dig in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it. They're treated a lot more humanely because years ago, I think what
Yeah,
it was, they
it was
just
the
used
Dutch
to.
veal.
Yeah.
They used to lock them in like a room,
the
and
dark.
whereas now they're actually they call it a pink veal. It's not as
It's rose veal.
It's rose veal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're a lot more treated nicely.
Lucky you two know what you're talking about.
I don't really know what I'm talking about.
I
but
just
I've
know like a nice veal chop with a nice big fat on it.
Oh.
It's in a bit of butter and sage, like you
I mean,
say.
I
So-
love it.
oh.
I should cook for you. I like that
Yes,
would
you
be.
should
I
cook
really,
for us,
really
Gizzy.
should cook
You
for
should.
you. We did an event the other day where we were like, we interviewed me and Steve, do you know Professor Green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hosted this big award ceremony, and one of the things we were doing was red carpet. And we asked everyone, all these chefs, what do you eat? Like what do you genuinely eat when you get home from work? And like I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, it was either eggs or it was
So
hot
it was your
noodles.
one that I saw because which obviously I like to follow you and Professor Green, and it was that one that I'd seen, and they
Yeah.
were asked because they were saying like jacket potatoes or beans
Yeah.
on toast, because he said I'm
Exactly.
waiting for you to say beans on toast. He
Yeah.
said, didn't he? But talking about, you said about Professor Green, you've done loads of collabs, didn't you? How did you meet him?
I DJed for him about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He was opening a new nightclub, and he, for some reason, the person who was booking it booked me, which was quite completely weird because I DJ like 60s music and punk and metal and like loads of like just a mixture of everything from Northern Soul all the way through to like 80s really, and it was just such a weird thing because everyone weirdly actually. Charlie XCX was on before me. This is before she was a big deal. Then me, and then, God, someone else, I can't remember. But me and Stephen, we both had our teeth done that day, and we couldn't smile, we couldn't speak, and we had to have a paparazzi shot together. We were both like, and we just got on really well.
Your fancy, did you introduce him to his first fancy wife?
No.
Was
she
her
was
name?
already going out. They were together.
Millie.
Oh, were they? Millie. Did you meet her?
Yeah, I love Made in.
no.
I love Made in Chelsea.
Do you know all the Made in Chelsea?
No,
then?
I don't watch anything like that.
Oh, that's
I
my
love Made in
favourite.
Chelsea. yeah.
Everyone loves it. I mean, I like all the shit that you get on like Hulu. Like I loved the Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, Beverly
I love
Hills.
all
Married
that.
at First Sight Australia.
Do you know? I've never seen it, but I've got to watch it.
gotta watch it.
Matt, we need to do that. That's
It's
something
so
we need to add
good.
into the.
But in Made in Chelsea, they're just like, should we go to South Africa from
Yeah.
They're holding their passports and go, yeah, we're just going
The
to South
Essex
Africa.
ones are like, oh, we're going to the Cotswolds. I think they're fancy, didn't they? And then
Yeah.
they just go, should we go to Bali? And
Yeah,
they
let's
just
just
fly
go
off
to
to
Bali for
Bali.
a
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
South
mess
Africa.
about.
In your month off, where do you go? Do you go to
Back
Italy?
to the
Back to
village.
Italy, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
With the cows and the
already
sheep.
booked. But I go, this year I'm going a week to the village and I'm going down to the beach for 2 weeks.
So which beach?
I go to Viareggio.
Viareggio.
Forte del Marmi, you probably know.
and all
Which is
that.
where?
Tuscany.
So they've got
Tuscany,
beaches in
darling.
Tuscany.
Yeah, we've got some
Yeah.
amazing
There's
beaches.
Sicilia there, it's lovely.
Right,
So we've had this idea, right? We're going to go cooking round Tuscany, meeting all the things on the people on the tractors, isn't we, Nev?
Oh yeah, that was Gizzy's idea.
Well, it's Gizzy's idea, but the idea was me and you are going to be on the tractor,
Yeah.
and we're going to put a throne on it for
Yeah.
Gizzy, but she's not going to end up being there. Where's she going to be?
On their Lambo.
Behind. Oh, I'm not going on that shitty
George,
tractor.
you're paying for this. You're
Yeah,
paying
you're
for the
paying for
Lambo,
this. A
George.
little Lambo
I'm
for
up for
Gizzy.
it.
Oh, a really nice little lambretta with a little scar.
I really feel like just my image alone, I just don't even. I'd just be happy to be fed and be in your company for that.
No, with a little scarf.
Yeah,
you
I'll
know,
go-
Grace Kelly kind of look.
Yeah, like Sophia Loren.
Yeah,
I do
Sophia
like-
Loren. Yeah, you, are
what?
more Sophia Loren.
I love some of that cooking in Italy. When we go back to Italy, I love going to. I'm pretty much a creature of habit, and I'll go back to some certain little restaurants where I know the food's going to be really good and just simple stuff, and they're like old girls cooking. And
But that's the joys, and also that's the what makes it. I mean, the frustrating thing about the UK, and I'm probably going to be thrown under a bus for saying this, is, you know, there's not, as far as Britishness, real Britishness in cooking, you get your really sort of high-end chefs.
Yeah.
But like places like this, you know, that I just feel like true Britishness, because this is what makes this so amazing, is the like merge of culture, right?
Yeah.
Sausage, egg and chips and a
And then
lasagna,
right?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like the English side of it is just dissipating, because even fish and chips we now know is not like a British thing anymore. Like,
Well, English cooking would always get such a bad rap, but I really love like some of them old stews and things like that. I think they're really warm.
like roast dinner, I couldn't. I live without like a roast dinner. It's my favourite.
Well, no, who else have you collabed with? Because I know you've collabed with some big names, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, one of my businesses was with Rosemary Ferguson. She's a big supermodel, one of Kate Moss's best friends. I opened a Caff in Margate, which was a huge mistake, but with Carl Barat from the Libertines. So I don't know. I've worked with, and I've also cooked for so many amazing people. I cooked for like Adam Ant and Boy George and people like that.
Have you had anyone who's like been a right shit to cook for? And they've all been lovely.
Genuinely, no.
You know, when you're cooking people food, people are usually really nice for you, because when you're cooking,
Scared she might spit.
Yeah,
No,
and
honestly, I've actually become really good friends with a lot of people I've cooked with, you know.
what went wrong with the Margate one? Why was it the whole Caff thing, or because you're used to doing high-end restaurants and like working in really lovely restaurants?
Sort of. Like my first businesses were sort of street level businesses.
Right.
You know, I was involved in opening Mare Street Market.
Right.
And
Which is huge now.
Huge now.
Yeah.
And then also involved in like Street Feast. I was like one of the investors in that, and we used to share studio space together. And then I did open one really big site, which was the Nightery, which was in the hotel in St Martin's Lane, that did really well. But that was my only really big thing, like really high end thing. I have been really privileged where I get to work with like loads of big chefs. You know, the other day I was working with Angela Hartnett and Robin Gill.
Oh,
She's lovely,
lovely.
isn't she, Angela?
Yeah,
She's local as well.
And her cooking's great.
And obviously Neil as well, her half. So, you know, and I've cooked around the world with like, you know, amazing chefs. Like, but I think what I like to do is sort of similar to what you're doing, is kind of like speak to the every person and actually just create food that is sort of tenable. I don't know, like again, culture clash. I really love that sort of thing.
Could you have done more the front of house?
I'm hopeless. I'm petrified. I'm actually, believe it or not,
'Cause you're
I'm
really good at
shy.
I believe that.
No, 'cause
when
you're
I'm
so,
cooking
like,
for
personable.
people, I hate it. I hate being up front. I literally, Matt will tell you, like, I hide. If I'm doing an event,
Really?
I did 3 events in a week the other day, and by the end of it, I mean, I find it impossible going out front. You guys are like so perfect at it. I'm so shit.
I think
you can do both. I can't do both.
Well, we grew up here, didn't we? We were
Yeah,
here like
it's
before
different. We
school,
grew up
after
here,
school, because this is almost an extension of our living room. Like, it's just we're so used to it. It's like we're never at home. We're always here.
we're always here.
We're miserable bastards when we're at home. Like, we're really horrible when we're
Yeah,
at home. It's
which is
true.
horrible,
My
though.
husband says
Yeah,
to me,
don't
you
come
can
knocking
smile
on
at
the
everyone at work, but you're a miserable cunt when you're indoors.
It is
But it's
exhausting.
true.
It's a physical.
No,
We were saying in the kitchen, it's like it's a fitness, and you've got to stay on top of your fitness. And the second you don't, I mean, you're better after you come back in August. It's like, yes, I'm refreshed, but physically, it takes a while to get back into gear, right?
Do you ever miss that day to day in the kitchen? Because that is like, you must have met some real, like, there must have been some real horrible chefs that you worked with.
No, actually, chefs have always been amazing.
Always been nice
I've
to you.
never had a problem with chefs. I've had a problem in media,
Right.
which I can't really talk about. But like, I've had problems with people in the hospitality industry,
Right.
quite bad problems. But I wouldn't, you know, every time I worked in kitchens, all the chefs have been incredible. I mean, I'm really privileged though.
Yeah.
Thing is, while I'm shy at my events, behind the scenes, I'm a gobby cow. So like, no one's fucking with me.
Yeah, good.
So, and also I'm tall. Like I'm a big girl too. Like, but I think, you know, I sort of know how to put myself out there so nobody crosses boundaries.
'Cause it's
and
quite-
I'm probably quite funny. Like I like crossing other people's boundaries, you know.
No, but you're funny. You've got a bit of chat about you as well. Do you know
You've
what I
got
mean?
a
You've
lot
got
of
the
chat about
banter.
her.
Yeah,
She's really
exactly.
good.
No, she's very, and it's quite a male-dominated. It was. It's changed a lot now. The industry. It's getting more girls. You see, like even in here, I get girls coming and they're like, "Oh, I'm a chef." Whereas years ago, you would never have got that.
And it's really changing, and there's a lot of positives. My own personal experience has been privileged, but I know a lot of women have had a bad time, and I think it's all come to a head recently, which is a real important thing, you know. And I think actually giving women a voice at the moment is
100%.
because of everything that's happening internationally around the world from so many different things. we've got to start listening to women and their
Well, look
plights.
at just like your family and your situation. Your mum, you know, you lost your dad, so your mum's brought up 3 little girls.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is tough
you know,
work,
and
you
brought up
know.
a family like our mum in here. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
like, she had my dad, but she's like always been the back. But our nan,
Our nan, she lost her husband
He
really
was
young.
43 and brought up like 5 boys and 2 girls
Yeah.
on her own, and always in the background, and yet always the kind of like driving force behind everything.
Do
And
you
know
we're
what,
only
even-
just getting
Yeah,
a
we're
bit of
just getting
recognition.
exactly.
But even I've got 2 little girls, and I'm always like, like they've got great role models. They've got Anna, my sister's
Swearing one.
big wig up the city. Do you know what I mean? They've got my mum.
She works in the most fancy brothel in the city. Makes a fortune.
She'll give you a great discount,
Yeah,
mate.
she make a fortune.
Friends rates.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, she's got
Fancy brothel, not one of them
they've
shitty
got
ones.
great role models, and I always tell them you can do anything you want, girls. Like, and don't be held back. And
That's what my mum always said to me.
Yeah.
Like she was always like every morning almost like recognize what you've got, right? We're so lucky to be brought up in
always
London.
be thankful for what you got.
And you know, have that's the privilege we've been brought up with, is just even being in England, you know. And then actually, you know, she just hustled, and I think watching someone hustle, she had 3 jobs at one stage, and we used to get taken out, like she'd come and get us from school, put us in the Caff next door, and we used to get a chicken sandwich, I remember, and then and loads of crisps, and me and my sister did our homework in there. And then she'd finish at 6 o'clock, take us home, and then make us a dinner, you know. And it was like,
So
it
they all
was
knew you in
great.
the Caff
Everyone knew
sort
us.
of thing.
No,
They
we
would
were,
have been,
that's
like,
literally,
looked
they looked
after you.
after us. We
She kind of
literally
grew
were
up in
plonked
that
the
environment,
corner.
so almost like us.
Totally.
Yeah, you grew up around it.
Totally. It
But-
wasn't as fun as and as vibrant as this, but
what
it was a
for
very
a
nice
kid,
little...
like, you must have heard some great, like, bit of banter in there, just even like that age. Like, because
Totally.
Caff's, there's so much stuff goes on in Caff.
So much banter, and that's I think that's the other thing with kitchens. For me, it was always like banter. I always understood it as banter, but then, you know, people are taken off guard by some things people say, and it's like, it's the intention of meaning, isn't it?
Yeah,
If it's meant as a laugh and you can see it, but it's like if there's sort of like an underlying of rot that is like not cool, and you know, and it's, you know, and we've also, like, for everything we're having to like wake up and see things maybe through fresh eyes. But yeah, I mean, humour is really important, isn't it?
Should we let Gizzy eat her food?
Yeah, let's
now?
let her eat
Giz,
for a
you eat
minute,
your
let her eat
food,
for
and
a
we'll have a
minute.
little break for 2 minutes, and then we'll
Really?
talk to
Do
you.
you like-
You just
do you want
enjoy
some
your... Right, Gizzy, if you had a mastermind question, I want to ask Gizzy this.
Well, I know she knows all about cats, but apparently there's something else. What is it?
Yeah, what would be your mastermind question?
Sharks. I know
subject.
loads about sharks. I like, so when I was little, I would just get obsessed and fixated on certain things. One was cats, and then it became sharks. I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was like
Great
7
job.
or 8. Wouldn't it be great?
That would be a
I was
great
going to move
job.
to Florida, but can you imagine that in this day and age? Hello.
Trump be your neighbour.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, but really about you said you wanted to go swimming with sharks.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to swim with a
Do
great
you
white.
in a
drive
cage.
your
But
mum?
I can't- you
Do you
can't.
drive your mum mad with worry? I think everything. You're giving me anxiety, and I'm thinking she's mine. All these ideas she's coming out with. You drive your poor mum mad with worry,
Yeah.
don't you? I know you do.
Took her out for Mother's Day, and then, yeah, yesterday she was telling me all about all of that. Yeah.
Did you take her somewhere nice?
We went to Dovetail, Tom Seller's restaurant.
I've got to tell you something about that afterwards.
go
But
on.
Not now,
No.
can't now. We're not allowed now. Okay, so yeah, that is so weird.
That's weird that she said that,
That's
isn't
so
it?
weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, everything's falling into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird, actually. Yeah, we'll
that
tell you
was
after.
like-
We'll tell
like-
you after.
There's opening a brothel in Dovetail. No, not really.
No, it go down well there.
I know it
I was like,
was,
everyone was
yeah.
Russian.
Your,
I was like,
your mum's helping me set it up.
it's just,
No, you can't say that.
can't say that about my
I'm
mum.
joking, mum.
Right, let's
Not
get back to
really.
the cooking. Sorry,
Yeah.
Gizzy's mum.
So, Giz, there's been loads of stuff on the telly lately. The bear.
Yeah.
What's that other one called? The boiling pot. And is that like real to life? Because we've never actually worked in a real kitchen. Oh,
We've just worked in our mum's kitchen.
With mum, and she's
Not
like
a real
but we've
proper
never worked-
professional fancy
Yeah.
kitchen.
Yeah, but then also like the point of the bear is like him choosing to step out of the. I mean, the third series he went back to Michelin, but like it was him taking himself out of Michelin kitchens to work in a cafe. So you know, and actually finding one thing that was really important to him. So I think it's all very similar. Like how I was watching you work there, you sort of denote like the experience for yourself is kind of the same thing. It's a bit more precise in certain things. you know, I've always worked a lot better because of like being ADHD, and I reckon this is the same for you two. If I can boldly say,
keep saying we've got fucking
fucking ADHD.
Tommy Mallet reckons we've got ADHD.
We ain't got ADHD.
I feel like
we've got ADHD.
We've got tell Gizzy what we've
We've got
got.
A, B, C, D, E,
X, Y,
F, G.
fucking Z. Yeah.
perfect.
About ADHD. No, but is it, do you know, you see on thing, it's like really new, like really full on, really bang, 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 chef, did it?
Yeah,
Is it like that?
Yeah, some kitchens really are. The ones that I thrived in were like that. I like that energy. I like being able to talk. You know, there are a lot of kitchens where you have to be dumbed down and you're very quiet, and they like the sort of calmness, even though internally you're not calm at all. And there's a lot of, you know, I mean, there's an element where I really miss that sort of going to work with a spring in your step and a bit like shit, what's going to happen today? You know, that has changed in the kitchen. I don't know, you know, but like I said, it's such hard work, and it's such physically hard work, and that's what you know, you saw your mum in the kitchen at 84.
Well, she's getting a bit lazy. I mean, she fucks off at 12 o'clock now, didn't she?
Sorry for some people.
Yes,
isn't it?
it does, and
You know
pisses
what I mean?
off random, but
you know, it's a culture, like it's in your. A lot of people it's in your blood. Once you're in it. So you know, at the moment, I don't want to do that, but I know that it's embedded in me. Like I had to go back and do it the other day, but Jesus Christ, after, you know, 10 days, it was enough. I was like,
is there any one of those chefs that you kind of like, that's who I've learned the most from, or that's who I like the most, or that's what, any one of those?
No, look, too many people. I couldn't specify, to be honest. It's you know, I've been privileged enough to work with some major people.
Do you ever feel like you've missed out? You know, you've started out on like you helped start up a lot of these projects. Do you feel like you ever missed out?
Not just a lot.
Like,
You've been involved in a million things.
Yeah.
A million things.
But like, do you ever feel like you've missed out? Like it's gone without you after.
Yeah.
Like you've helped start it.
I'm pissed off. I've got to be careful with that because I'm contractually.
But still, you
know, I helped launch a lot of businesses, and they're very successful, and I haven't been a part of their full-term success. But you know what? Like, there's an element to that where I probably wasn't the best person to have been employed at that stage, you know. Like I needed to learn to not. I mean, I'm very explosive. You know, in the kitchen, I am angry. Like, I think people would assume sort of the female demeanour is like not explosive, and we all know. Like, I mean, I can lose my shit.
You ain't been in there, my mum.
Yeah,
sometimes.
exactly.
Bloody hell, rolling pins.
You know, and I had to learn lots about the sort of financial elements, which just don't come naturally to me. I'm like, so what? We've got integrity, and we're buying this produce, and it's really important for us to sustain the business through that. But it's not financially sustained.
It's so hard.
And I've got to learn that, because I don't really, you know. I left kitchens when I was like 21, 22. Well, no, probably like, sorry, I left kitchens when I was about 24-ish, properly. And I did my pop-up businesses, but it's a different model, right? So being in an actually attached to a site, you know, the times that it worked were when I had really nice partners that really looked after me, and they were really wanting to see my success. You know, the nightery for me was my biggest success, and the bloody only thing that killed that was COVID. Yeah. You know, so... You know, I do, but then, you know, I feel like there's been a lot of stuff that I wish I could have done differently, and I probably would have been able to sustain some of these things, you know. There's other things that I'm just like, that was never going to work. And I really, you know, took a punt on something that was never going to be successful.
But it is getting harder and harder and harder, because even with our little place, and our saving grace quite often is that we haven't got rent because our I mean, this was the slums when he bought it, right? But people see you're busy, this, that, and the other, and they think you've got a tree out the back peeling off £1 million notes.
Right,
and
exactly.
How expensive is it? So, like, and this is a little Caff when we see the expenses we have, so let alone a massive restaurant. I couldn't begin to imagine.
I mean, and if you have any integrity in the business, then you will be, you know, making sure everyone gets paid. That you're paying people from a supply perspective.
Except for Rosa.
Yeah, no. But weirdly, I bet the model that you work to is probably more successful than a lot of the models that people have to work to now, because prices of food have shot up.
And we don't really sell lots of wine and stuff like, which is where a lot of restaurants make their money.
They do make their money. I didn't know you. It was only when Felicity had it. Was it Felicity's thing?
Yeah,
that I knew that.
Yeah, because we've got a
we've got a license now.
just before lockdown, I think it was. When we got a license.
So now we do, but we only serve like a nice little red and a white and beer, and that's it.
perfect. That's all you
People
need.
go, what's your wine list? We go red or white.
Yeah. So, what would your dream like menu be then if you were to do something after hours?
Do you know what?
Oh, you just stole our next bloody question, you shitbag.
You were listening in there, weren't you,
Do you know
Gizzy?
what? Something like my mum's or something.
Yeah,
Or
let's
something
do
like
it.
That's
that.
exactly what I'm real.
Simple
I'm
home.
real boring. I'll go to. I went to that Mendes restaurant once, when he was up here.
You got kicked
Mendes,
out.
Yeah, and
You got kicked out.
No, he didn't.
No, but he went and poured some stuff over it, like some egg stuff, and I was like, "Do not put that on my food."
Never
Not
hates
even one
eggs.
of the chefs, and I was like,
You
"No."
hate eggs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
so
hate.
funny.
And I was like,
Eggs.
"Do not put that on my food." And he was like, "Oh, but you have to." I was like, "No." And it was like a few things. It's a bit too fancy. I'm
Yeah.
a bit simple. I like
I like
cooking, but I like
simplicity.
simple.
Yes,
stuff,
I'm the
like-
same. I feel like just some honest dishes. You know, one of my restaurants, the Nightery, which I did was French food, which is what I was trained in, what my mum used to cook for me. But I wanted to do it I wanted to like get the sort of opportunity to give it a bit more. It's a bit of a new life, and I learned that in the turn of the century in Paris, there were loads of American soldiers that then took the culture that they saw and learned in Paris, which was this sort of like kind of like everyone sitting shoulder to shoulder, having wine, having really delicious food, but like also poets and scientists and philosophers and artists and musicians all together. And then, vaudeville kind of came out of it, and they created Atlantic City in Las Vegas. And I just thought that kind of...
clever as well.
She is really clever. I know.
We don't know what she's talking
ever
about.
go-
She
go
just
to
looks
Paris
good. We're
ever?
just like looking
I just
at her
got back
like
from
that.
Paris. Matt
Our
played.
friend's got a really nice restaurant in Paris.
Which one?
Called Les Enfants
Les
Perdus.
Enfants
So I'm desperate to go. I'm
Oh,
so
no, we can get you
Should
in
we
there.
go?
Yeah, I will phone our mate and get you in.
Yeah.
They won't let us in, but
They'll
they'll
let
let
you in,
in.
yeah, definitely.
And
Have
I was
you heard about it?
Yeah, it was really well known.
That's our friend's
Well,
brother-in-law's
I'm definitely. We should again. Let's
We'll
go.
Let's do it. Gizzy, look at you. Don't even have to be a cook. You could just be a model.
I did it very briefly. I'm
You're
so
like a much
shit
younger,
at it.
sexier Nigella.
I did it very
one,
briefly.
did you?
Yeah.
Did
And
you?
it wasn't for me.
No, it wasn't for me
Because
either.
you're much younger, much sexier,
Oh,
and you can be. I'm just.
I'm not
putting
that
in my-
no one is
Yeah,
sexier than
yeah.
Nigella.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no,
they're not.
No. You give her a good run for
No,
it.
Yeah,
wait.
she's had a good run. It's about time she
She's
went
like,
on
she's
Nigella.
mother. She is the one.
Have you met Nigella?
She
Yeah,
lovely.
she really
She's
lovely.
incredible.
Yeah, she
She's
seems
really,
Does
really
she
fun.
rub her boobs
I
on
mean,
your
I've
face
got a
when she
very
gets you a
good.
glass
I've
of
got a
wine?
story that will never pass my lips. But yeah,
Oh,
But
get the
she-
limoncello out there. Get the limoncello
I mean,
out.
You could have your own restaurant. Yeah, like you could have your own restaurant
Like
anywhere,
dream.
doing any type
I've
of
done
food.
it.
No,
Yeah,
but this
if
is
you
going to
could go
be,
now,
this is
your
going to be
dream to
Gizzy
do-
Erskine signature.
what would
It's
you
going to
do?
last forever.
like a trauma response place. I couldn't. I'm just not in the right headspace. I literally,
No, but
I'm
you
so
were in the right-
traumatized by restaurants that I'm not
Really?
sure. Yeah.
So you just come to our restaurant.
Yeah, I just want to eat out now.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I've had 3 years
But
break.
that's sad because you're so brilliant at
But
it.
do you know what I can do, which is really which was kind of what I did in the first place, is go back to like my roots, which is doing pop-ups. I was part of that scene. I helped create that scene. I can take a business and I've taken what the Nightery was and created a thing called Cuisine PLC, which is going to tour, and I can take that around the world and cook with some of my favourite chefs around the world. And I can do it in a very limited space. I don't think I've got it in me to, unless I got paid a lot of money, which I don't think that the money's in the business anymore.
At the minute,
From
it could
a
be,
development
in the future, it could
level,
be in
I
the-
just don't think it's on the table for me. Literally on the table
But
for me.
it's a
right
shame
now.
because I watch you, I follow you, obviously you've been coming in for years and I follow you on Instagram and like everything you do just looks, you make it look so effortless. You put some amazing things
Thank
together
you.
and you look beautiful. I know it sounds silly, but you do look gorgeous when you're doing it as
Thank
well. And
you.
I think it's such a shame that you
But I
say,
can,
like,
that's the
recall when
great
you don't-
thing of social media as a medium. Like we can utilize it in a different space now. Like I can actually go out and create something, and it goes to a very specific audience, and then that audience grows. Like I get, I'm really
does
lucky.
that make Gizzy happy? What will
Oh, wow.
fulfill Gizzy? Like,
What would
no,
fulfill
really,
me?
like, because you
No,
sound
look,
like you've got
I
all this
mean-
stuff, but nothing really. What is it going to take? apart from the next question, later on when you're getting married to Matt, we'll see that. That's important. Yeah.
Where's
no,
that?
but really, this is
Big
what I want to know.
Kanaka.
Is there something that
I
'cause
think
you keep
that
using
my
the word
writing.
trauma, and I think that's sad.
No, I'm traumatized by it. I really am traumatized. I had 5 years of, you know, if I'm really straight up about it, like I'd struggled with my first incarnations of restaurants. Then when I got the nightery, I left hospital having had having had to have an operation where I got pleurisy to then have to open up a restaurant, and then sadly Caroline Flack, who was one of my closest friends, died, and then we got through COVID, and then like an amalgamation of a load of shitstorm that ended up happening after that, and then opening up with Stephen, we opened Gizzi Greens to like 4 or 5 sites instantly. And then I opened up Margate and put all the money I'd earned into that and lost it, you know. And then all of a sudden I'm like a flipping beetle with my legs flaying around, waiting for someone to like kick me over and like, or pick me up ideally and, you know, set me on my way. But even a kick up would have been good. And just nothing helped. There was no salvation in that. So finally actually taking responsibility for myself. And I got very muddled up with, you know, I was drinking and doing a lot of drugs, and, you know, I had to then get a grip. And of which I did do. You know, I met Matt, we fell deeply in love. We both got a grip of our lives. And, you know, the last sort of like 2.5 years have been healing. The last 5 months have been me getting my life back. And I'm feeling I'm so back in the game now, all of a sudden, you know. But that's through financial, you know, like I had to sell my house and I had to pay off a fuck ton of money, which, you know, which left me with everything I'd earned for the last 20 years, just sort of like all boiled down to this small amount of money that I've got, but I've got money out of it, which is a privilege, you know, even though I had to get rid of 90% of that money. Yeah, and I don't own a house anymore. I mean, but come on, I was able to restart a business, and that business is me, you know, creating, and I'm working out what that creation is. And you're right, there will be something.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
But I'm just not there yet.
Right? Listen, Nev can go on the tractor and pick the vegetables.
Yeah, well, we'll be following you guys around the world.
I can do all the prep.
Matt, fancy a
You're
trip to
gonna
Italy?
open a little Gizzi Erskine trattoria in the hills in Toscana.
Trattoria, I love that word. I love trattoria.
Yeah, not fancy, just home cooking. And we're going to have the wedding there because I know what's going to make you happy. This is it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to marry Matt.
Am I?
Right? And you're going to be happy just like cooking him stuff up in the kitchen, in your sexy nightie on a Sunday morning. So when is she married?
Matt knows the real truth,
Matt,
and that's like a pair of Adidas tracksuits.
When are we getting married, Matt? Not
Stop
like
him.
me and you. Come on.
Come on,
How
Matt.
long did you say?
3.5 years
Yeah,
now.
come on.
Do you know what? You're obviously very good for each other.
We're amazing
Like
for
you,
each other.
you bring the good out in each
No,
other.
honestly, we're
Because some people can bring the bad out in you, and you bring the good out
we
in you,
really
which is
do.
a nice, really nice thing.
Yeah, I've never met anyone more impressive than Matt. You know, he's had to go through a much sort of harder deal than I have with some things, and you know, and his work ethic is exemplary. So, and
Seems like a very nice boy.
yeah,
You got our thumbs up.
Yeah,
Matt.
you got our thumbs up, Matt.
So we together, you know, and we create stuff together as well. Sorry, I said that sounded rude.
Yeah,
For
hey.
some reason.
I just want you to say, can you just say exemplary for me,
Exemplary.
It's amazing.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
So, and I'm writing now, and I have my own column, which in the iPaper, which is great. And I'm writing about. I've written recipes for the last 20 years. I'm now writing about food subculture and women's issues, and it's really interesting for me. Like I'm not bored. I'm like almost like the whole writing within those subjects is spicy as hell. You know, I'm writing about going to naked dinner parties. I'm writing about aphrodisiacs. I don't know. I got invited to an anal sex dinner party. It's really mental.
Don't let her go. Don't order line, Matt. She ain't going.
Let her go for that one on her own, Matt.
You're poor.
I might give that one a
I'm
miss.
traumatised.
I'm gonna give, believe it or not, I'm
Sardis.
giving that one a miss as
Yeah,
well.
we'll give that one a miss.
Good girl.
But there's so much crazy shit out there, and I'm like, I get the opportunity to write about this nuts stuff. But that might be my limit as well.
Yeah, 100%. And talking about what makes you happy.
Yeah,
if
what
you
is the
could-
party? George wants to know this. George wants to go to
It's fine,
this party.
I'll find it out for you, easy peasy.
Yeah.
It's like,
What is an anal sex party?
I don't know, so look, can I read it for you? Because like this thing it came in the other day and I was in absolute hysterics.
You sit down on like a special chair or something while you sit down.
Oh,
I'm ready for my first course.
Phallic chair. Oh,
It's too good, hang on, this thing, it said,
You're
right.
like, where's the tomato
Here we
sauce
go.
bottle gone?
We would love to host you at Whipped. We're working on the next date for the 18th of April. We'll coincide with International Anal Sex Day. Location and details for the time being. But I'll keep you posted and extend a formal press invite.
Yeah, you ain't taking
What a shame, I'm in Lanzarote.
But that's what I'm dealing with, and it's fucking hilarious. So I get, I'm getting all of these the food subculture side is great, and it's nice not to have to write recipes for it and actually use my brain in a different way. I love writing, and I'd like to, maybe what I really want to do is go around the world writing about experiences, like being, I don't know,
swimming with sharks.
Yeah, but writing about the food culture internationally, but through some kind of interesting, slightly fresher.
Well, I'm sure you'll do well with it because you're funny. And you're very clever.
Personable,
the way you talk, I would read something now that you've written. So if I saw something with you, I'd be like, I'm going to read that because I know it'll be a good story.
No, I'm really enjoying it.
I'm sure you'll do well.
Thank you.
Do. And we've got one last question for you, Giz.
Talking about what makes you happy, if you could put one of your food comforts on our menu, what would it be? What would be the Gizzi
on your menu?
Yeah. The Gizzi, the Erskine.
I love making braises. Braises for me is like that. I love losing myself in the mise en place, right? So you get to chop everything up and then browning things and reducing your alcohols and I don't know, just making sauces and things like that. And I don't know. Again, ossobuco comes to mind because it is probably one of my favourite things to eat. And
I really fancy it now.
Me too.
Sucking the bone out.
I should have you guys out for dinner.
Would you come out for dinner? Yeah, but I'd be a bit scared.
No anal sex going on around there,
I'll be in the chairs first.
Matt's got all his clothes on when I come in.
Yeah, as long as we didn't wake up the next morning with a dizzy head and a sore bum, that would be like, all right, we've come for dinner.
Tied up to it.
I do actually. One of the things I wrote about was we do these. Well, Matt won't do them because he's completely sober. But magic mushroom dinners.
Our friend used to do that, didn't
my mate
they?
has them every day. He has a little bit every day, and he reckons it's fine. And every now and again he'll have a bit more. But he gets chocolate bars.
That's
he has to get vegan.
My life.
He's lactose intolerant, so he has to get vegan.
God's sake.
He gets vegan magic mushroom chocolate bars.
He's not lactose intolerant. Wait till I see him.
Well, he's not like mad.
He eats fucking lasagna with bechamel on it.
But he is.
But he can't have magic mushroom.
I just got berated on another thing for that, didn't I?
There you go. Right, we thought of this last minute what we've been doing, so they're a bit rubbish. But
I'm really bad at answering things on the spot.
They're easy
We're going to give you a little
so it's kind of
West versus East. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So like a Bellini.
Or half a shandy.
Shandy.
Oh.
Marylebone.
Or Mile End.
Weirdly, I love Mile End, but actually Marylebone because of the amount of restaurants.
We say Marylebone.
And also that was where my family house was.
Yeah, okay.
Pommes frites.
Or chips.
Chips.
Yeah.
Bagel.
Or Beigel.
Beigel.
It's a Beigel, good girl.
Fine dining.
Or down the Caff.
Down the Caff.
Good girl.
King Charles.
Or Pearly King and Queen.
The Pearly King and Queen.
Yeah, you're one of us. Thank you so much, Gizzy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Time.
I love you both dearly.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed that little clip, then make sure that whatever platform you watch it on, subscribe, follow us.
And make sure that you follow @DownTheCaff on Instagram and all your socials. Spread the love.
Tag us. Spread the love.